His best of seven series for
of a best of seven series.
Welcome to the Best of Seven podcast.
Welcome to the Best of Seven podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Plant from SENS, and episode number 21. We have plenty of great content for you. Firstly, the MLB trade deadline has come and it has passed. When it passed, the Padres turned into legit World Series contenders, while the Blue Jays bolstered their starting rotation. Stay tuned for more analysis on that. As well, we're going to get in the paint with myself, Brandon Plant. We're going to discuss all the second round NBA, from the second round of NBA playoffs, so stay tuned for that. As well, we're going to discuss a little bit of fantasy football, as the NFL season should be kicking off this Thursday, I believe. So for all of those out there that are watching, listening to this, that are looking for last-minute tips for fantasy football, stay tuned for that. Chief Editor Noah Luden gave his sleeper picks, while I gave my best value picks. And by the way, our picks are all based off PPR, so if you're not a PPR player, probably shouldn't listen to our analysis, but if you are, stay tuned. As well, we're going to discuss many great things, but before we discuss all those great things, I want to give you a little bit of an update on next week's episode number 22, where Ottawa Senators forward Jayce Hawryluk will be joining the show. I can't believe that we're having two Senators forwards within the first 25 episodes of the show. It's absolutely remarkable. We've had great interviews with people like Soroya Tinker, Ian Mendez, Joey Decord, Sens forward, Scott Sabrin, and now Sens forward Jayce Hawryluk. And I know I'm forgetting many people. We've had so many great interviews. It's an absolute pleasure to interview every single person that agrees to join the show. But we are so excited to have Jayce join the show next week, so stay tuned for that. So let's get into some MLB trade deadline recap. Let's get to that right now. Alright, let's discuss the 2020 MLB trade deadline, starting with the San Diego Padres. I'm going to read the trades. They made a lot, and then I'll give my overall analysis on the future of the Padres and where they are at right now. Starting with relief pitcher Trevor Rosenthal. He was traded to the San Diego Padres for a player to be named later, and outfielder Edward Olivares. First baseman Mitch Moreland from the Red Sox was acquired for outfielder Jason Rosario and third baseman Hudson Potts. Now, this is the first of two catchers they acquired. Jason Castro for right-handed pitcher Gerardo Reyes. Now, a bigger name, Austin Nola, who's on my fantasy team. He's been dominating, and he's coming from Seattle Mariners. So it was Austin Nola plus two minor leaguers for catcher Luis Torre, infielder Ty France, and right-handed pitcher Andre Munoz, and of course, outfielder Taylor Trammell. I know Trammell he's a bigger name. I'll get into that later, but he's a decent player, I believe. Relief pitcher Taylor Williams for relief pitcher Matt Brash, and the big fish, the biggest trade of the whole deadline, the biggest acquisition, probably a top 10 pitcher in the world right now, Mike Clevinger from the Cleveland Indians, alongside outfielder Greg Allen and a player to be named later for a massive package of pitcher Chad Quindrill, outfielder Josh Naylor, shortstop Gabriel Arias, pitcher Joey Cantillo, catcher Austin Hedges, and shortstop Owen Miller. So, quick thing, Padres are legit World Series contenders. I'd be shocked if they don't go deep in these playoffs. Machado's played well, but of course, Fernando Tatis Jr. has dominated the league. So the Padres are cashing in. And of course, they had so many prospects that some of these guys that they traded probably would have not made the roster regardless. So they bolstered their team for not even now, for the future too. Clevinger's not just going to be he's not just a rental. He's going to be there next year too. So the Padres not only improved their team, but they kept their core of elite talent together. So the Padres are going to be a legit team to be scared of for years to come. Now the Blue Jays were also dealing. They got starting pitcher Ross Stripling for two players to be named later from the Dodgers. They also acquired starting pitcher Robbie Ray for Travis Bergen, and of course second baseman Jonathan Villar for a player to be named later. Basically, Robbie Ray and Jonathan Villar are depth moves. I like Villar, got good speed. Robbie Ray, a little inconsistent this year, a lot of walks. But Robbie Ray is an experienced arm, which will be very beneficial to a young Blue Jays team. Now, Ross Stripling's interesting, where he's had a down year with the Dodgers, but this is not a rental trade. He will be with the Blue Jays next year, and he has great potential. And the Blue Jays have great development for pitching. Clearly, you look at Nate Pearson. So, who knows? I think the Blue Jays can turn Ross Stripling's career around and make him a definite top 5 starting rotation guy for any team. He could probably slot in the 3rd or 4th spot when all things are done next year, which is exactly what you need. You like depth like that. Now let's get to the Texas Rangers, who traded Mike Minor to the Athletics for 2 players to be named later. Mike Minor coming off a huge year last season, not so great this year. Now it's reported that Mike Minor will be coming out of the bullpen very often for the Oakland A's and will get spot starts during doubleheaders, so he's more like a bullpen piece, not a starting pitcher. Now, outfielder Starlin Marte got traded from the Diamondbacks to the Marlins for starting pitcher Caleb Smith, relief pitcher Humberto Mejia, and a player to be named later. So, Starlin Marte to the Marlins, it's kind of funny. They had Ozuna, Yelich, and Stanton. So now they want outfielders. But the Marlins have surprised this year. They are in a playoff spot, I believe, at this current point in time. And I think this will do nothing but improve their team. Now, the Rockies got more offensive power by acquiring former Blue Jay outfielder Kevin Pillar from Boston for a player to be named later, and international bonus money. So, the Rockies, they play in, obviously in Colorado, and I think they're 300-400 meters above sea level, or no, way more. They're way above sea level there, so the ball flies in the ballpark there. So Kevin Pillar is a speedy guy, and when the ball's flying out of the park, you need a speedy guy in the outfield. So they got that in Kevin Pillar, and be prepared, Rockies fans. There are plenty of great catches. Now, Arizona wasn't done dealing with just Starlin Marte. They also traded relief pitcher Archie Bradley to the Cincinnati Reds for 2 prospects. Archie Bradley is a really good relief pitcher, and it really bolsters that bullpen from Cincinnati. And the Mets made some acquisitions too. For some reason, they traded for catcher Robson Chirinos, relief pitcher, right-handed pitcher, Miguel Castro, and third baseman Todd Frazier. Why did I say Toddy? Overall, the Mets, I think they're out of a playoff spot right now. I don't really know why they made these trades, but maybe they're going for it. These guys should help. The Phillies got more bullpen help with David Phelps for 3 players to be named later. The Phillies always need bullpen help, and this surely will help. Here's hoping. The Cubs traded for outfielder Cameron Maybin for a prospect and bullpen pitcher Josh Osich for a player to be named later. Cameron Maybin is a pretty good outfielder, and he should help the Cubs, push for that playoff spot and get into the playoffs and then make a run in the playoffs. They've been a little inconsistent this year, so that'd be good. Now, the Reds also got outfielder Brian Goodwin for a prospect and a player to be named later, but really, the Reds bolstered their bullpen. They got a couple of guys, but really the big deal really was the Padres getting Mike Clevenger, which really changes the trajectory of the whole league. The Padres went from sneaky, low-key, dark horse contenders to maybe the top guys in the NL after the Dodgers. Maybe even above the Dodgers. Who knows? So the Padres are a scary team. The Blue Jays improved with some good depth, but overall it was a pretty active deadline, and that was fun to see. Now let's get into some In the Paint with your host, Brandon Plant. Let's get to that right now. Let's get into it. Welcome to In the Paint with your host, Brandon Plant. Let's discuss the first series of the second round of the NBA playoffs. It is the Boston Celtics versus the Toronto Raptors. And the first 2 games, the Raptors got absolutely dominated. They lost both games, and while the scores don't look like they were dominated, they didn't really play well. They weren't hitting shots, and the Celtics were all over them. Game 3 was different. The last 2-3 seconds were insane. A huge dunk in the last couple of seconds that looked like it was going to make it a 3-0 series for the Celtics. But Kyle Lowry, OG Anunoby, and head coach Nick Nurse drew up a play and created a play and performed a play that might be one of the best we will ever see. Now, I know it's a little biased because I'm a Raptors fan, but let's keep it honest. With 0.5 seconds left, Kyle Lowry threw a ball over Taco Fall, over Taco, and went right to OG, and he hit it with 0.5 seconds left. He hit the 3. All that pressure, the pressure on Lowry to pass that ball, the pressure on OG to catch and release in time, and to make it, impressive stuff. The Raptors are down 2-1 in the series, but tonight at 6:30, I believe, game number 4. Right now it's 3 o'clock on Saturday. This episode will be out tomorrow, so hopefully when you're watching this, the Raptors will be tied at 2-2, and they can carry that momentum, because you don't want to be down 3-1 in NBA playoff series. Not many teams have come back from that. Now, the Clippers lead the Nuggets 1-0 in their series. Kawhi has went off, 29 points game 1. Jamal Murray with just 13 points and went 5 for 15 from the field. Jokic had the team high in points with a measly 15. The Nuggets didn't play well, but that's probably a one-off. The Nuggets are a very, very good team, and game number 2, I expect a full full attack on the Clippers defense, and I expect it to be a much closer game. Now, here's the shocking series of the playoffs. It is the Miami Heat leading the Milwaukee Bucks, the number 1 seeded Milwaukee Bucks, 3-0 in the series. Jimmy Butler put up 40 points in game number 1 and then 30 more in game number 3. The Heat had 7 players with 11 or more points in game number 2, and Giannis with a double-double in all 3 games so far, but clearly it was not enough. Now, what's interesting about this is the Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo looks to be leaving Milwaukee after this year. It was reported last season that it would be huge for Milwaukee to go deep in this playoffs to make it a better or more lucrative for him to come back on a max deal with the Milwaukee Bucks. But now, down 3-0 in the second round, maybe he's going to go to the Heat, maybe he's going to go to the Raptors. Those are the 2 front runners, apparently, according to sources, that are the front runners for Giannis when he hits free agency in a year or 2. So, I don't know. If you're a Milwaukee fan, you gotta be heartbroken right now, because not only are you down 3-0 to the Heat, you might be losing your superstar player very soon. So Milwaukee, you got to win 4 in a row. I don't think that's never been done in NBA playoff history. So good luck. If there's any team to do it, it would probably be a team led by Giannis. So we'll see, but not looking good. Now let's get to the last series. This game happened last night. It was the Rockets dominating the Lakers, and they lead the series 1-0. James Harden scored 36 points to lead the Rockets to a Game 1 victory, while Westbrook and Gordon got 24 and 23 points respectively. Pardon me. The Brow Anthony Davis got a double-double, 25 points and 14 rebounds, while LeBron James finished with 20 points, 8 boards, and 7 assists. So basically, the Lakers are the Lakers, the Rockets are the Rockets. The Rockets have one of the best scoring machines in James Harden, while the Lakers have AD and LeBron James. I don't expect the series to go to 4 or 5. It's going to go to 7. This is going to be a very close series, and this was a one-off. The Lakers will rebound, I'm sure. Now let's head over to some fantasy football talk right now. Alright, let's discuss some fantasy football, starting with chief editor of the show, Noah Luden's fantasy football sleeper roster. Starting with the quarterback, Drew Lock. Now, this is what Noah Luden said. The young quarterback who showed a lot of promise last year, now he has a plethora of weapons to play with. Guys like Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler, Noah Fant, the tight end, Melvin Gordon, the running back, and Philip Lindsay could be a scary Broncos roster. Now, at wide receiver, Julian Edelman, with the release of Mohamed Sanu, Edelman should be seeing more snaps than he usually gets. Even with a new quarterback at the helm, Edelman can be the consistent wide receiver the Patriots need. Now, wide receiver, again, Hunter Renfrow. The Raiders are also quietly building a solid offense, according to Noah. Already having Darren Waller, drafting Henry Ruggs, and also having Renfrow. Renfrow had 605 yards and 4 TDs as a rookie. With increased snaps and a better overall Raiders team, Renfrow could be crucial to the Raiders' playoff push. The third wide receiver no one's talking about is DK Metcalf. Noah says that Metcalf had a big rookie season with 900 yards and 7 touchdowns. Look for a massive step forward in season number 2 for DK. At running back, I got to agree with this one. Kareem Hunt missed first 8 games due to suspension. We know why. Not good. And while I don't like the fact that he's in the league, he is a fantastic player. He looked like an all-around threat in the backfield in the latter half of the season. The Browns will look to improve as a team, and that could help Hunt improve as well. The other running back, Chris Conner, missed most of last season due to an injury, but with a potential slept-on Steelers team with no pressure, Conner will look to bring back the form he had when Le'Veon Bell held out last season. Now, at tight end, Noah says TJ Hawkinson. Hawkinson had an underwhelming rookie season with 367 yards and 2 touchdowns in 12 games. Not enough for an 8th overall pick. With a healthy Matthew Stafford, however, you can put hope in an 8th overall pick to take a big step forward at the tight end position. Now, here are my picks for players to target with good value. Now, at quarterback, I don't think a quarterback's too important. A lot of quarterbacks, you got Patrick Mahomes. If you draft Mahomes, you're good. He's going to get you 30 points a game in PPR leagues. But after that, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, blah, blah, blah. You go down the list. You can even look at Josh Allen. He'll get you 20-something points, which is still good. If you're going to go for a quarterback, though, go for Kyler Murray. He's being slept on, and I think he'll be a top 3, top 5 quarterback for fantasy terms when it's all said and done. He just got an upgrade at wide receiver with DeAndre Hopkins. The Cardinals are looking like a much better team, and Bruce Arians is a great coach. Now, Kyler Murray, without DeAndre Hopkins, had a fantastic season last year. Let's see what happens with DeAndre Hopkins in the fold. I expect great things from that quarterback. Now, with wide receiver, you can't really go wrong with any wide receiver. that's more of a that's why I didn't put any names. It's more of a personal opinion. I wouldn't recommend going after like Odell in the first or second round, obviously. But like a guy like Michael Thomas, obviously you should go after in the first or second round. For great value, I'd say, Deebo Samuel, I know I'm a Niners fan, but that's the type of guy that you should go after for sure. He may miss week 1 or 2, but in the Niners offensive scheme where they're running a lot of slants and he's going to be wide receiver number 1, expect a lot of production for him for sure, especially in PPR leagues. And the other wide receiver, I'd think, Pittman Jr. with the Steelers. He could be a guy. I wrote it down here, actually. Let me check. It was Pittman Jr. and it was obviously Lockett from the Seahawks. Calvin Ridley. I know he's playing on the same team as Julio with Atlanta, but Ridley is a talented wide receiver. And I think he can get top 10 points at the wide receiver position this year. He gets plenty of targets, even with Julio on his team, and he's one of the most athletic players I've ever seen. Now let's move on to running back, where I agree with Noah. Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, draft one of the two. Obviously Chubb before Hunt, but what I say about Hunt is he's gonna get a lot of playing time, and he's gonna fall down the list a bit. He's ranked as a top 25, top 30 running back. You could probably steal him in the top 10, top 8 rounds, top 6, depending on how many teams are in your league. If it's an 18 league, you snag him in the 8th or 9th round for sure. But I think Hunt is a great piece. Not only is he gonna get minutes on the field with or without Chubb, but if Chubb gets injured, Hunt will carry the load on a stacked team that has really no pressure on them anymore. Last year they had all that pressure and they faltered. This year, not as much anticipation on them, so maybe that helps them perform much better. And Nick Chubb, if he gets injured, Kareem Hunt will step right in there and he'll get you a lot of points. So I'm not recommending Kareem Hunt as RB1 for you, but if you want a good value pick, Kareem Hunt is the guy. Now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, if you have a first round pick in the 6 to 9 spot, I would take CEH from the Kansas City Chiefs. The guy is an absolute stud. I think he will have a breakout season, and next year he'll probably be a top 5 pick, in my opinion, in all fantasy drafts. Now, tight end, Hayden Hurst out of Atlanta. This kid, let me tell you about this guy. This guy is playing in an offense that targets the tight end quite a bit, and on top of that, Hayden Hurst will be playing every single snap basically for the Atlanta Falcons. If you want a tight end at a cheap cost that no one's talking about, Hayden Hurst is your guy. This guy is my breakout candidate. I think this is the biggest sleeper of the draft. Hayden Hurst, whenever a player is getting to play almost all the snaps, you got to pay attention to that. And when he has a talent to perform, like Hayden Hurst does, you got to listen to that. So if you are looking at drafting George Kittle, who I love, or Travis Kelce, or, you got Zach Ertz, Goddard, whatever, in the first few rounds, I say don't. Target running backs, target wide receivers, and then in later rounds when people are starting to take tight ends, just wait. Because Hayden Hurst is not going to get taken probably, because a lot of people are sleeping on this guy. And I recommend to you, whoever's watching this, to take him. So besides that, let's get into the next segment. Wraps up episode number 21 of the Best of 7 podcast. Thank you all for watching and listening to this episode. Now, before we wrap things up, I want to give you all a little update in the NBA recap, or in the paint with myself. We discussed that the Raptors and Celtics would be playing. That game has commenced, and the Raptors took home the victory. They won it 100-93. The series is tied 2-2. Kyle Lowry with 22 points. Jason Tatum, once again, with a good performance with 24. The Raptors get a huge win, and the defending champions are not dead yet. As well, the Nuggets and Clippers played, and the Nuggets tied the series 1-1. I told you that the Nuggets are a good team. They'd probably rebound. There's that rebound. Let's see what happens today. As currently, the Miami Heat are up by 4 on the Bucks. It's 91-87 with 11:14 left in the fourth quarter. The Heat, if they win this game, win the series in a sweeping fashion, and that will not be good for Giannis. That would not benefit Giannis's case to stay in Milwaukee. And tonight at 8:30, it is the Houston Rockets versus the Los Angeles Lakers. The Rockets currently, as of this moment, lead 1-0 in the series, and by the time this episode's up, that game should be midway through. Now, besides that, thank you all for watching. Remember, next week, we have Jayce Hawryluk, Senators forward, joining the show, so stay tuned for that. But besides that, be sure to follow us on all our social medias at SENS Podcast. That's on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. As well, please check out my personal Twitter account at SENS_. I post plenty of great content there, so be sure to give me a follow. As well, before you leave, be sure to listen to all our episodes moving forward on 5, yes, ladies and gentlemen, all 5 official streaming platforms of the Best of 7 podcast. That is on SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, and of course here on YouTube. Click that red button down there and subscribe to us. Make it gray. Hit that notification button and put the notifications on. Besides that, thank you all for watching and listening. Next week, Sanders forward Jayce Hawryluk joins the show. Stay tuned. We'll see you then. Stay safe. Have a good week.